Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that 2023 has been the absolute worst year in Disney history, especially with their movies, whether it be animated or live action material, doesn't matter. Throughout all of this year, we have seen box office failure after box office failure, and it's just going to continue to get worse for them throughout 2024, and yes, even 2025, as Bob Iger and the board are relentless in their strategy of doubling down on their usage of DEI and ESG being thrown into these movies and into these TV shows for Disney+. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, the latest box office failure is Wish. Now, this is the one movie that Disney was banking on. I don't know if you guys knew about this, but they were absolutely looking at this movie to become their saving grace to end things off properly for 2023. Now, this is the last major Disney release of this year, and this really looks bad for Bob Iger, it looks bad for the board of directors, and it also looks terrible for Walt Disney Animation Studios. And about Walt Disney Animation Studios, well, it's not looking good right now as Bob Iger is losing his mind completely and taking action on them. Let's get into it, shall we? Now, one thing about Bob Iger is that we know that his form of damage control always results in a firing train of really kind of either rehiring new employees or getting somebody else on board of their upcoming projects, whether it be live action material or animated material, does not matter. Bob Iger never takes the blame, never owns up to his own mistakes, and will never, ever divert from the ESG and DEI nonsense. Now, let's look into this further. Now, what's interesting about all of this is that with Bob Iger currently dealing with their latest box office failure for their movie Wish, one major development has to do with Bob Iger and his recent actions toward Disney, specifically Walt Disney Animation Studios, after the box office failure surrounding this film. Now, a significant update involving this drama is that now Iger greenlit a strategy that is being pushed at last minute that is going to lead to multiple firings of specific animators and the marketing teams that worked on Wish. These firings are set to become effective by January of next year. That is going to lead Walt Disney Animation Studios to become a smaller scale production and division for, of course, Disney as a whole. Even their future animated films, such as the future of Frozen movies, will now have less crew members and animators working on these films. Iger is also creating a plan as a result of the Wish failure to limit their budgets on future animated films, especially with the Frozen franchise. As a result, these animated movies won't appear as they once did with the normal budgets involved, with the proper marketing inserted. Something that will also suffer due to the failure of Wish. Bob Iger is reportedly on a firing train right now that is leading to multiple departments within Walt Disney Animation Studios, leading to more employees getting fired for next year. Iger is also planning to make a statement officially during the first earnings call of 2024 about these massive cutbacks for Walt Disney Animation Studios, both by firing employees and budgeting limitations becoming active, which is going to have a big impact on the quality of future films by spending less and making less. The future of the Frozen franchise as well will actually take a deep cut, and other big animated films planned are also going to now hold less funding. Iger is even planning to cancel many animated projects that are in the pipeline to reduce spending. Now guys, let me say one thing about this. This is very cowardly of Bob Iger. Once again, this is nothing new. He has done this before in the past with Marvel. He has done this before as well with Star Wars. And we know that Bob Iger is not going to stop here. So again, I think at the end of the day, what he is doing is that he is doing nothing more than scapegoating. Now, sure, you can point at the directors and the writers of this film, you can point at the animators, but we really have to look at who is really calling the shots here, and that is, of course, Bob Iger and the board, and their direction of everything Disney. Whatever division it may be, in this case, Walt Disney Animation Studios, they have no idea what they're doing, And it really comes as a result of Bob Iger's lack of leadership. I mean, you gotta get real with this stuff. It's not really the animators' fault at the end of the day. It's all about what Disney is pressing them to do. And they're gonna continue to become very relentless with this garbage that they're spewing out, and now it's gonna invade the Frozen franchise. And we already know that there's a lot of rumblings that Disney wants to also embrace a live-action version of Frozen to kind of revamp that story in a way, to kind of double down on that ESG/DEI nonsense. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's not just finalized as of yet. However, we know that Bob Iger, definitely the worst CEO of all time over at Disney, and I stand by my opinion on that. I do believe that Bob Chapek was a better CEO in different areas, and he, at the end of the day, let's be honest here, he was the fall guy. We all knew that Bob Iger was only semi-retired. We all knew that he was going to come back within maybe 2, 3, 4 years at maximum, and he did, basically. Once Bob Chapek got his work done and handled all of the struggles that Disney was going through at the time. And look at it now, Bob Iger's only making things worse. So, at the end of the day, in conclusion, what's interesting here is that with employees from every single department at Walt Disney Animation Studios also getting fired by Iger, and those high up at Disney by next year, this only puts Disney in a more delicate position since Iger is aware that the animated films are another piece of their main source of revenue from their core fans. Both the writers and directors of this movie Wish are also getting fired from other projects that they were supposed to be a part of after this film's potential success that is now only a disaster for Disney's 2023 situation leading into next year. In addition to this, Iger is also doubling down on their usage of DEI into future animated films. This also includes, like I said before, both Frozen 3 and a potential 4th film to insert their ESG strategy once again, regardless of what happened with their Star Wars, Marvel projects, and more, such as their animated material, in this case, Wish. So look, I've mentioned this many times, even the animation for this film looks atrocious. It looks like something that you would see in a generic ad. I know a lot of official critics, one of their main complaints about this movie is that it feels more or less like an advertisement for Disney because of all the Easter eggs that are laid out in this film. Even the star, right? Even the star in this movie is a direct Easter egg to Disney, basically. You know, we know that the cast mentioned this, that it's all about making a wish and making your dreams come true, and how the star is a symbol of that in this film. And there's a lot of things that are shown in the background of this movie that are pretty much a callback to the legacy of Disney. And that's basically what this movie's all about. It's about honoring Disney, and it's a part of celebrating the 100th anniversary. Well, what an atrocity this really is, because this is probably the worst way that you could celebrate Disney's 100th. You know, they already got slammed by the Daily Wire when they unveiled their version of the Snow White, the Snow White movie itself, and how they released that on Disney's actual 100th anniversary on October 16th. But overall, guys, you know, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.